You might be wondering why there was a 3-year gap between my Breath of Fire 3 and 4 item runs, and that's because I was convinced this was impossible. Despite the game being rich with damaging wares, I was unable to acquire them before the first 2 bosses and figured that's too far in to call it legit. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though, let's start at the beginning. We're ripping over the sand and there's a dragon, then we're tripping over the sand and there's a dragon, and then we're being this man and there's a dragon. Hang on, roll it back, I've skipped too much. After recruiting Ryu from the brown hole, we head to the cliffs where I will demonstrate but a fraction of my power. After recruiting Ryu from the brown hole, we get into a battle, set Ryu into the first slot, use an item, flee, fail to flee, and then for our second turn we'll queue an attack. I'm not going to use it, it's an item run, we're going to cancel that. Performing that exact sequence of commands has duplicated my equipped weapon, the King's Sword. Using this from the item menu, cast Protect, which grants me plus 20% to defense, and I believe can be stacked up to 5 times. Ryu simps for a girl, huge mistake as we do not smash Bird Box, but our face instead. Nursing a concussion, we settle on some beauty sleep, and it works surprisingly well. The hair, the bathrobe, the rare Chinese breed. We're thriving. Fou-lu, beautiful as he may be, is actually where the run technically ends, as his only means to damage through the item menu is his royal sword, which casts Drain. Now I know you're thinking, well, what's the issue? Just drain everything and shut up. Well, I would, but it doesn't work. Drain itself is percentage based, which means it can never truly finish an enemy. As if Fou-lu would even let them, he's far too counter happy. It is the ultimate edging device. And that's just on regular foes. Most bosses have a 7 resist to mind, status, and death, which means they are completely protected. There is a 0% chance you can hit them with anything even remotely related to Drain, and Khan, the first boss, is one such guy. So here's my plan, we ignore the Fou-lu sections and carry on since they're borderline contextual anyway. Awaking, our concussion is fully cured and won't cause any issues later. This is medical advice. Arriving in Sarai, my separation anxiety flares up, so I beg Nina to stay with me. Please don't leave me for Chad. Sure, he's got a fat wallet, prospects, hobbies that aren't anime, probably showers too, but consider this. I'm useless and in need of a mother figure. We take on the role of dear feeder, inflate this man's big soft belly, bribe a sus dude for some... Sorry, that tripped me up, that was fucking weird. Bribe a sus dude for some info, get some more info from another sus dude, then we speak to a third sus dude who sends us to dig up parts for Nina's sand flyer, only a stone toss away. We're digging for gold, and gold is what we find in the first proper damaging item of the run, the fabled Molotov. I've done damage tests with this, it's 200 base damage and scales based on elemental resistances. The tiers are 1.5 times for a 2 resist, and the first boss has that, so it will take 300 damage from these bad boys. Unfortunately, we've only got one, and he's got 1200 health. Time to show you my final form, the perfection of my discovery, the flat item dupe. We use an item, fail a flee, let the enemy do they thang, then we spring into action. Nina helps herself to the item menu, hits X on the Molotov to enter the target select screen, backs out, hits guard, then Ryu cancels back to Nina, and bang! 2 Molotovs! Failing to flee with an item queued should return that item to your inventory, but for some reason it doesn't. What it does do is stores the quantity and dumps the item index, so we've got a quantity of one undefined thing waiting to return to our inventory. All we have to do is assign it a value. Attacking with your equipped weapon or using it as an item, then backing out and guarding assigns it that ID, duplicating your weapon. Using a skill gives it the corresponding skill ID, of which I have assembled a database, and finally, using an item, then backing out of the target menu into a guard, then cancelling, assigns it that item's index, thus you get 1 more. With 6 Molotovs, I rock into the first boss, Joe, and we win pretty easily, it takes 4 turns, cool. Ryu snaps the King's Sword on Rob Halford's face. Don't worry, we've got another, then we flee north to South Chamber. Grabbing Urshin, we push through to North Chamber, dupe 6 more Molotovs, which takes a surprisingly long time, and face down the Skullfish himself. He takes 8 Molotovs and dies. Cool. Ryu, only being level 2, nearly dies a couple times and counter hits the fish for an absolute cracker of a hit at 9 damage, but it's a pretty uneventful fight. And with that, we've opened the way to freedom. No more will we need glitches, as Molotovs will soon flow freely. We spend a night with Cray, a bunch of story shit happens. There's a poo explosion, a frog song, boom! Now we're through to the village where the guys throw you into a bear trap and tell you it's just a prank. Once we have a good old chinwag with this true blue parrot, that Manillo at the entrance will sell us Molotovs for 100 zenny each. We can't really get money from enemies, so how the hell are we going to afford all these Molotovs? Well, we've got our own private orchard. Money in Breath of Fire's 3 and 4 is infinitely accessible. You can endlessly farm trees for goods, or like the random spots on the world for slightly better goods, or you can just hit people with your sword until they cough up change. So we're going to use our head, get 99 apples, sell them for 495 zenny a pop, and that'll buy us 4 Molotovs. So we do that 25 more times, and that's a full inventory. Go team. Mate, you didn't actually think I was going to bash 2,000 apples down to fill my inventory? Are you insane? I literally showed you a dupe trick 5 minutes ago. If we set up this glitch, Q risky shot with Urshin, then cancel our turn, we get this glitched item that sells for 16,000 zenny, which is plenty enough to stack our inventory. Call it cheating if you must. I choose to call it not handpicking 1,900 apples. Chasing down babies after baiting them with fruit, we find the mayor who plays a sick prank on one of the wild beasts by exploding them with a landmine. Naturally, the parent arrives to dish some justice. I guess he didn't get the memo that it was just a prank. This guy can be difficult if you don't know what you're doing. For example, he can one-shot Cray, but any beast can be hand-fed with enough apples and Molotovs for a fairly easy win. At 3,500 health, we are gradually escalating, but our damage remains steady. Now we're on through to Sinesta, and it's here where we gain our second item, the Water Bomb. It is an iced Molotov. Not a lot happens between now and the next boss. We teach some nuns how to parent, wring some information out of a smug little dog fuck that I want to boot across the room, and square up against Khan. Khan is the bodyguard of this frog dude Marlock, and that's who we need to see. Khan's got a beef, and is also beefy. He takes 150 from Molotovs, which means he's got a 3 resist to fire, possibly a 4, but that drops our damage down 25%. Despite this, he's not very threatening. A lot of attempted turn cancels, some light melee, he defends. That drops our damage down a further 25%. But you know, enough Molotovs will fell even the most fire-retardant foe. From here, we're face to face with our frog friend, who asks to borrow Nina while we perform some tasks. The first is tracking down a thief, but we side with the thief, so Marlock's like, bro, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Okay, alright. Go and organize my warehouse. Go to the box factory, because that's all you're good for. This is usually a good place to get some points for the later dragon forms, but I'm not going to be using them. I'm doing the bare minimum. Same goes for loading boxes on the Sandflyer, bro. I'm a YouTuber, not a physical labor is below me. We get a fou-lu section, and I test the fullest extent of the lies I made up earlier about the King's Sword drain, but unfortunately they turn out to be true. It simply cannot finish a foe, so fou-lu sections are a complete write-off. The Sandflies here drop firecrackers, but the following boss absorbs fire, so it doesn't matter. He gets beat again and disappears into a forest, and we're tasked with climbing the causeway to escape through a portal. Ymichif. This boss was designed around ensuring everyone was up to speed with how the combo system works, by basically making it impossible to beat without. Ah shit. Ymichif, he's tough. He has single and multi-target magic, does decent physical damage to everyone, while being extremely fortified himself. His defense is through the roof. Our Molotovs and water bombs do 50 damage a hit, he can almost wipe us in a single turn, and he's got 6,000 health. You'd see this scenario and think, well, the run's over, but it sure was fun. Oh my lord, don't you think I prepared for this in advance, Stalker Child? The first thing is the damage. Obviously at 50 damage a pop, 99 Molotovs are not 6,000 health worth. In fact, it's 4,950, give or take. We're gonna have to dupe those water bombs to the tune of at least 21, but I'll grab a few extras just in case something goes wrong. That's the easy part. I can press the same buttons repeatedly for an hour. I've done it many times before at the box factory, but survival is gonna be trickier. He's got Sever, he's got Cyclone, there's not much we can do but heal around those, but his melees can be offset with the King's Sword that I duped prior. The plan is I'll dupe 2 more, max my defenses going in, making his melee turns free. He will eventually run out of AP, I have tested it, so it should be easy. Before that though, little bit of fishing. As we lose access to this side of the world for quite a while, I was thinking some friendly fishing might be in order, so I'll reload a pre-Marlock minigame save. Yeah, love that for me, and then we'll catch 1 of each fish. I get all but 1 as it takes me a long ass time and I can't find the boy, so we'll just move on. What does kind of miff me is that the bluegill is the same as using a water bomb. Couldn't have been just like a tiny bit more power? Whatever. The grind is complete. Let's cook this goblin. It takes about 30 minutes all up. I even added my calculator to the capture to show me brutalizing this dude 150 damage tops per turn. Once he ran out of AP, it was easy pickings, as defense buffing basically stops him dead in his tracks. Or dead in our tracks, because we ran past his shambling corpse into the next zone. As we disappear through the portal, Halford scoffs, "A dragon? I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm just a humble Molotov peddler." We sneak into a palace of sorts through an aqueduct and get caught by a teleporting fox twink, and now we're on to chapter 2. They call him Cray, I call him Cry, Little Cry, because he cries all the time. Look, he's crying right now. Cry is captured, entowered. He inspires me every day, so I dump him and get a doggy companion. Your abilities and prowess are unnecessary. I simply require your lobbing arm. But first, a Manilo in Shide is offering a Ruby Scepter, so I grab some more fish, redeem Sard, and the Ruby Scepter is not usable in this game. My day is ruined. For context, in Breath of Fire 3, the Ruby Scepter casts Flare upon use. Or burn, I don't remember. Well, with 4 usable items left, I head on through to the Fairy Woods where Nina gets enshrunkened and fights a bird. This fight wins itself. You simply guard and the avian flees, dropping a bamboo rod. Moving on to Warren, they sell Molotovs and water bombs here, so you know I stock up on both, which was very necessary, as after speaking to the elders and being instructed to find Cry's mother Tarn, we're assaulted by a ghost from our past. Khan is back, and he's about as strong as he was last time, so that's an easy win. He still takes 200 damage from each type of item and barely hits us. He pays out a bit of experience, enough for a level each, which was nice, as we've just kind of cracked the double digits. We're not severely underleveled, but we are mildly stat deficient. We grab a Welk and enter the Golden Plains. Did you feel that? Several people just shivered at once. It's still nowhere near as long as the Desert of Death, but is it good? I don't know, I don't mind it, it's fine. Squelching our Welk across the plains is an endeavor to be sure, and what a hefty nut we're experiencing. Ryu is alone, but we're given a hot pocket of burning experience as all nut foes die to a single Molotov, and despite their yield being low, it is significantly better when it's not split 4 ways. I quickly find Tarn, lest I repeat the mistakes of my past, where I ended this segment with Ryu at level 40. My persistence has not faded with time, and we're tasked with talking to a blacksmith, so to do that we need to get shit from a fairy. That's not casual talk, it's literal shit, so we go and ask the fairies for their feces. Abused, dreaming. We spot 5 dream ghouls who fall in 3 or so turns to items, then there's a big one with a butthole in his nose, and he's not far behind. Our mollies and water do 200 damage steady, which is superior to the last real boss, which was Yamachev. Yeah, it has been that long. The fairies thank us, we get our steamer and return to the dwarf so I can recast a sword I already own several copies of. With 4 king swords in hand, they'll surely pardon Cray for sneaking into enemy territory and spitting in the face of a world alliance. Whose idea was this? Stupid. They refuse to accept our forgery, instead substituting it for their own, and they kick us out. Instead of letting them simply throw this cat in the bag, we're gonna wait till nightfall and break him out. Or at least that's the plan, but I can't get past the first dude. This section has a few contextual fights where you gotta kill the bloke in 1 turn or they call for help and you're removed. My first Molotov does 200 damage, then he guards, and the 2 following items do 150 each, which is not enough to kill him. I try a few more times and he guards after the first attack every time. I was hoping I wouldn't have to use this, but unfortunately, you've left me no choice. As Sayas, if we use the glitch, then select Confuse and Cancel, we are gifted 1 big fat napalm. Nobody has ever made me use this dupe technique before. The Sleeping Guard has truly pushed me to my limit. Napalm has a flat damage rate of 800, hits all foes and is both fire and wind elemental, a severe step up from our former arsenal. Obviously this mows down every foe in my path with minimal effort. I even throw an extra at a group of roaches doing 1000 damage apiece. There's a reason I sat on this for so long. It felt unnecessary. I needed to suffer a little more first. I will no longer be using napalm unless I absolutely need it. We're back to Molotovs and water bombs for now. Speaking of suffering, we free little Crybitch, then we see his mother for a jade stone, which sets us off in our next destination, toward Windia. After the shrine, I check the random patches off the overworld, and their item yield is interesting. We can grab mouth gags, poison powders, and flash grenades, which cast mute, poison, and blind respectively. It probably won't be useful, but they do show up at a weirdly dense rate. We kick off the Fairy Village subquest. I wish to cultivate this place to be the ultimate item farm, but that's a little far off. I think, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember how the village in 4 works. I find Momo and slap everyone under her as a master, as people in the back row are more likely to go to sleep, which means Urshin's not gonna take it upon himself to rocket punch. We also gain 8 extra HP per level, which is probably the only useful stat in an items only run. We have a chat with Dad, get sent to Granny, come back to Daddy, we get the wind flute, now we're up a tower. Saya's betrayed us, but on the plus side I found some weather vanes, which are Molotovs that do wind damage. How sick is that? Not much to mention. In the Wind Dragon Spire, there's little loot. I'm trying to conserve my items, as I know there's a decent stretch where I may not have access to the item store, so I rush through it fast. Atop the spire, we fight a group of 3 blokes, and then another group, but for the second fight we've got a dog companion who is so drunk he forgets basic battle formation. The dragon! Let's see if I remember his name. Is it Paung Ryong? Paung Ryong? Man, I don't know. I don't know Korean. I barely know English. Anyway, whatever his name is, he sends us spiraling into a mountain, orienting ourselves. Get it? Orient? Whatever. We see we're only a short walk from Windia. So why didn't we just walk here? What was all that tower shit for? Can't climb a fucking mountain? At the foot, a small village, and checking the store, we find the Wand of Air, which when used as an item in battle casts Sever. The spell that Nina starts the game with. Naturally, I dupe it twice, and now I no longer have a need for Molotovs or water bombs. I did actually grab an icicle, which does heavy water damage to all foes, but I can't directly dupe it because it targets all foes. So what am I supposed to do with it? Anyway, I test the Wand of Air, and it actually casts the spell Sever, not just a budget item variant, so all of my intelligence neglect will compound and no doubt cause me major issues later on. Speaking to this child, who is actually a 60-year-old dragon, it's confirmed that Urshin is an Endless too, so we go inside her mind prison to free my wife, Deez. We're up against 4 magical pillars, and I use that icicle I found, which kills a couple of them instantly, and I chip the rest down with Molotovs. Very easy and worth a ton of experience. From here, we get more fou-lu sections and tons of narrative, and I don't know, who's got time for that shit? It's great, don't get me wrong, but is it an apt fit for an item run video? More narrative, less Urshin. I discover that the bots that you can infinitely farm experience from with combos are actually susceptible to napalm. This means if I ever need to come back and pound levels, it's gonna be very easy. Urshin has a few solo fights, but again, easy, ignore that game over. Ryu gets Kaiser in this contextual fight, which I would later learn is not contextual in a future run that I'm planning. But there's not really much I can do here. I can't kill Ryu with my own damaging items, so I kind of just have to let this play out on its own. Also, all my guys are dead, and none of my items can target Ryu and do 2800 damage. There's nothing I can do to stop him just rolling the dude with Kaiser Breath. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Anyway, there's more fou-lu shit, doesn't matter, then we tie up Ursula exactly where I want her. We get Ursula and Urshin back, and now our party is complete. It's been a long time since we've had to think about bosses or items. Robbing Marlock again, we grab our sand dinghy, then scoot on to the next story beat. But first, I want to show you something I've been cooking. In the Fairy Village, I've set up a humble item shop, and this shop sells dynamite, icicles, void spheres, and electrodes. The former 3 for 500 zenny each, and the latter for 250. Dynamite, icicles, and void spheres do heavy damage to all enemies in the earth, water, and air elements respectively, and electrodes are single target medium damage earth attacks. I also grabbed some wisdom rings for Nina and Urshin, probably Ursula too for use with my Sever wands, and if we ever see a boss again, he'll be sorry, I tell you what. Nah, not him, like another boss. There's not much involved in moving forward. There's a block puzzle, there's a mountain with questionable vision, and now with my improved arsenal I can two-shot most mobs, which means the experience is rolling in. Arriving in Shik, we speak to Dingus and his 2 slaves and perform some chores. We grab a sea salt sphere and Nina and Ursula do some battles in the ship. There's a mimic who falls to a single belladonna, which is an insta-kill item. I got that from Ursula doing an item glitch and then using Confuse, and then we fight Khan again. Now, Khan is the joke guy. He's a comedy character, but this time he's actually a half-decent boss. His health pool is exponentially beyond what we fought before, and without these new fairy available items, this would have taken hours to beat. I think he's got like 12,000 health, and he hurts. A few of my characters got their ass slapped. After a while, my empowered items do the trick, and we're back to making progress. Now, I'm nothing if not slightly short-sighted. I made a calculated error. I forgot that you get double-teamed by bosses on this boat trip, and this is where health values just rocket through the ceiling, so I got to the ghost ship completely forgetting there was a boss that could heal within. I wanted the run to still be interesting, so I didn't infinitely dupe 99 of every item. That is cringe. However, I did rapidly run out against this dude, and he is no pushover. He summons little guys that use Vitalize, healing him for 600 or so, which was enough to negate 1 or 2 of my items. While they can only use it once before running out of AP, most of what I had was group targeting items, so I would kill them, and then he would bring them back with full AP. It took me about 25 minutes to realize I was just burning items, so I switched to single targets, and then another 25 minutes later, he finally falls. Imagine what I could have done with 50 minutes. I would have just wasted it anyway. We arrive in Lip, I get my fishing rank up to 3000, and then we speak to Gyosel, who becomes our new master. This dude's stats and like rewards and whatever are crap, but he's got an innate ability called Ward, which occasionally prevents you expending an item upon use, which is the perfect ability for this run. Also, as a quick little side note, I do think it would have been more interesting without fairy shops, but it also would have made the run 10 times longer, and how many times can you say, I threw a Molotov today? That's an Alundra reference, you don't get it because you haven't played Alundra. Go fucking play Alundra. The only thing of note in the Saldine Flats is that we get a flamethrower for Ursula. Using this as an item casts Fire Blast on all foes, so naturally we transmute 2 extras out of thin air, and then I accidentally genocided the fairy village because I didn't keep them fed. Wow. Wonku! This dude hits like a truck. His magic and physicals are nightmarishly powerful, and he takes practically no damage from items. I'm talking like 200 tops. If it weren't for those flamethrowers that we got before, which do anywhere from 500 to 800 depending on the character, we would be completely brick-walled. I do a cheeky last-minute re-equip of water-resistant equipment because I rocked in old Cocky from the rest of the joke bosses and then had 2 characters one-shot 2 turns in a row. Toward the back half of the fight, Wonky drops asleep. I can mitigate this with status resist seeds used out of battle, but oh no, I was thinking too far ahead, cause we're still in the fight, and the cheeky bugger drops a stone attack, and now I gotta juggle earth damage too. His crit rate is insane. How do you one-shot Cray? Bro, come on, like I knew Wonku was a casual filter, but goddamn! I head back to Chikwa after this and grab a force armor for Cray, which tells me that having it equipped is the same as using barrier. I would later learn that this is complete bullshit and it's actually a usable item that casts barrier. I don't know if I'm upset that I was lied to or happy that I have another usable piece of equipment. I'll get back to you. Now also for some reason I didn't mention that I did beat Wonku in case you couldn't tell, so Wonku is dead. Returning to the tomb, I skip the regular enemies as the thought of giant robots inside the tomb of a long-dead Chinese dragon emperor is stupid, but then a boss! 1 and 2, the very same Roman numerals we are all too familiar with. This fight is dicey, they roll a number and act accordingly. It's largely magic, blocking combos, things we can tank pretty easily, but they occasionally roll a move called Punch, and it drops half my dudes in a hit, and the other half aren't far off. How does a cube throw a punch? I'm unsure of the exacts of the gimmick, but they only seem to take damage 1 at a time, and randomly switch which one that is, so I just keep blasting with whatever I've got. My most powerful potions are too much for them, and eventually they fall. That said, the fight is very long, we lose a lot of good Urshins. I thought one of these guys was completely immune to magic, but at a certain point he started taking damage from it, so I'm not gonna question it or complain. Arriving back in Astana, the Manillo here threatens me with a good time, an Earthbreaker club which casts Stone Pillar. Fire Blast is way more powerful, but I'll grind for one just to say I have it. This place also sells napalm and dynamite. My fairy village has still not re-unlocked napalm, so that is sick, thank you. I will say, Gyosel's ward ability is actually doing wonders. I got 12 or so tasers out of my stack of 7. It really does help. A lot of nothing happens, and then we end up in the final area, Chedo, where they sell firecrackers. Neat. Before us lies a few bosses and a reasonably long dungeon, so I get some money, stock up on many usable items. Shit, I forgot to get the Earthbreaker. Oh well, doesn't matter. Skimming through, there's nothing of note until we get assaulted by a color-swapped Wonku. Artur, he's got a similar setup to Wonky, heavy-hitting melee criticals, frost breath, it's nothing we haven't dealt with before. That said, it does seem significantly more difficult for some reason, despite our familiarity. Items aren't too bad, tasers do 600, firecrackers 500, and napalm 400, but the actual flamethrower item, which scales to intelligence, does anywhere from 600 to 900 with Nina, and the rest of the high intelligence gang, which granted is not that many. I can legitimately perform about 2500 damage any turn I'm not healing, which is almost every turn. He occasionally drops a confusion on our boys, but my melee is so gimped it doesn't matter. Ursula seems to cop it most, and she's got a gun that hits everyone, which instantly deconfuses my entire party. Bless her. Moving past Artur and descending the castle, we find Dragon, who heals 15,000 health per turn. After enough hits with fire, his resistance just vanishes, and the rest of the fight is a breeze. Then, after a weirdly complex, long-ass dungeon, we finally arrive at the boy, fou-lu. The first fight, completely contextual, but you can still game over, and that is stupid. The fight after this is sick. I become a big dragon, max my wisdom, then start clapping dudes, though my counter rate is kinda stupid. Doing well over 2,000 damage with my flamethrower, it's not long before my former party falls. Well, there it is, Breath of Fire 4 with items only, a very doable challenge, and was only ever remotely an issue because I didn't exploit the game more. Unfortunately not as interesting as Breath of Fire 3, but is anything? As always, thanks for watching. Tyrant is up, he's hard, he ails you, he epic fails you, every single one of his attacks requires a heal. It's brutal, buddy. Sometimes he'll outspeed and absolutely clap my entire team. Sometimes we outspeed him and pathetically flail. Though once every 3 or 4 turns, our fire damage would do significantly more. I guess he's weak to fire once every few turns with his element shifting. It was such a struggle to keep all my guys alive and active that I couldn't really plan and chase a pattern. I just kinda had to roll the dice and hope I was doing over 1,000 damage and not under. It's not long before luck favors the bold, and I'm victorious. Next up, the final boss is Astral. This dude is more or less the same. He doesn't have elemental shifts and his melee attack is a little deadlier, but he does have strong magic and can also put you to 1 health, which is honestly preferable to most of his other attacks, which just kill you. I keep the flamethrower barrage on for quite a while. I feel him weakening and then he just wins. I don't know when, I don't know how, but he did it. Okay, let's fast forward back. It's really just a war of attrition. Vitamins and ammonias keep me on my feet. When he uses Sanctuary, it's free. The same as his attack where he poisons and blinds the front row. Those attacks are water off a duck's back. Every magic attack has to be healed. Melee is pretty much a one-shot on everybody, and the 1 HP move is just annoying, because from 1 HP, I can never fully quite heal back to full, but if I revive, I get up with a couple hundred health, and that puts me in full heal range with vitamins. And then, after a long time of casting Flamethrower, he wins again. That's it, I'm gonna cheese this fucking dude. I dupe 6 Elixir Pluses, which basically negate all elemental damage. You apply them to characters outside of battle, and they last until you rest next. And that's the thing about me, I never rest. I get 99 ammonias, 99 vitamins, which can restore 1,000 health to each of your dudes, stock up on multivitamins, which heal 1,500 to a single character, and then I level a few times under Khan, bumping my health by a few hundred just to secure me a little bit. I keep Khan as our master as I'm no longer using consumable items, and his ability occasionally revives my dudes when they die for free. Hang on, I wrote that like a fucking idiot. We don't die for free? I mean, we do die for free, but we're given a free revive sometimes when we die. Now it's just a long but ultimately safe slog trying to get this dude down. His water attacks do nothing, so there's an extra free turn. The rest of his magic sucks. The only real issue is his melees, but my girls have dodge boots, which gives them 20% chance to dodge attacks. I am in peak cheese territory, but I'm so sick of looking at this white alien piece of shit. Eventually he drops, he's dead, and don't that just beat all? Shit, that's the wrong game. What's Craig's slogan?